I honestly don't think that many of them understand the full history of the United States and of America and Black Americans in the United States of America, because how would they understand it if they were never taught it? So when I think people from the continent of Africa, West Africa, see us, they see us from solely their lens of things, the way they view life. It's a perspective thing. That's what they see. Um, in reality, our deep history here in the United States is more than what they actually see. So you can only know a thing if you've been taught it, and you can only know it, and you can only perceive it a certain way until you actually take the time to either listen or study, right? So for instance, I didn't always know the full details of my grandfather's paternal line through his paternity, if I'm saying that right, through his paternity, not the maternal way, through my grandfather's paternal way. I didn't always know the full in-depth picture until I went back and researched the people and who they were and where they came from and how the last name even got here. Okay, so way back, for instance, right here, if you look at my family tree, right? This goes way back. I mean, way back. People I'll never meet, never had met, will never meet. Way back into the early 1800s, right? And it can go further back into the 1700s. But the name Oxendine, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it right. I ended up learning that though the name is I think it came from Europe. Okay, someone came over into Robinson County, North Carolina, with that name, and he was European, but he did not have children with someone who was white. Okay, all of the downline, according to what I've been reading, have been multiracial. They have been indigenous and black, and they are considered the Oxendine name. From what I've been reading, I could be wrong, or someone correct me. Um, they were the foundational, one of the foundational, if not the foundational, one of the foundational last names of the Lumbee, what is now known as the Lumbee tribe. Now, the Lumbee tribe has gone through many different names, and it's all based on perspective. Remember, I was talking about perspective? Okay, so when Europeans were writing the census, they could care less. They named them all free persons of color. As you can see, one of my forefathers, my foremothers, is here. She was inside a home with free persons of color. They were all free. In that particular part of my lineage, they were all free. She was listed as free with her children. They would not put down the actual, were they indigenous, were they black? They wouldn't put that down. They just knew they weren't white. Okay, they weren't white, and the government back then didn't care. They actually didn't like it. Now, as far as let's say a white person did, let's say it was a white woman that did have children with someone black, they wouldn't even list that man, black or indigenous. They wouldn't even list that man on the census. But all of the children would from thenceforth be free. They wouldn't list that man on the census. It would just be her with whoever are the persons of color, quote unquote. And in Robinson County, persons of color could have meant indigenous or black American. It could have meant indigenous or black. It didn't matter the way white folks wrote it down. So when we're looking at history, African people on the continent of Africa, they will naturally look at how white people wrote it down. They don't have anything else to go by. Some of them may take what the white people wrote down as law because that's how they've been trained. Okay. However, they don't understand that there's a lot more to it, and they have to actually see how it actually was for the people who were actually indigenous and black. So where white people would just look and say, "Oh, these are free persons of color," they didn't. They just said persons of color. That meant not white. So they would have what an African person would have to do is say, okay, well, what were they? Were they indigenous? Were they black? Were they this? Were they that? Were they multiracial? And the Lumbee, if they look up the Lumbee, they were multiracial. But when an African person may look at it, they'll just see what the white man wrote down, and whatever the white man says, that's what it was. But that's not true. And they can actually start looking at themselves for that in that way. Why would you look at black Americans that way when you yourself have a whole different story than what the white man says, right? The white man came in and said Nigeria. But what did your people say? See, it's a totally different thing. Totally different thing. Okay? They set the borders. But what did your people say? So you have to know both, and I'm not sure why they don't get it.